I want you to sit with this for a second. The person who wronged you isn't going to apologize to you. I hate to tell you that. It's a bit of a hard truth, but it's happened to me many, many times. Also, the situations that happen to you aren't necessarily happening to you. Perhaps they're happening to support you. Perhaps they're a catalyst for change. Hi, my name's Jen, and if you're new here, I am the author and the creator of the Treehouse Principle. Not only is it a book that I have written, but it's a framework that I've designed to help you create beyond crisis. So when I talk about creating beyond crisis, what do I mean by that? Simply, I mean, let's get back into our creative, flow, fun, imaginative state that we inherently have when we are born, when we are kids. It's effortless. Thinking, talking, breathing, imagining, playing, all of those things come very natural to us when we are young. But unfortunately, when we go through something like trauma or crisis or any form of gigantic change in your life, it can disrupt us. It can put us into survival state, or what I call crisis mode. So when we look to activate the creative mode beyond the crisis state, it's not always possible. I talk a lot about how we can't create from crisis. And that's simply the science behind it, is that our nervous systems are not ready to create again. They're not ready to play again. So if you're in that state, it is your survival state. You're designed and wired for safety first. So it's not a bad thing. But we've been taught and we've been conditioned over time to believe that these things are not good or bad, or we're lazy for resting. I want to talk to you about these things today, but specifically, I want to help you get out of that victim mode and back into that creative state. Back into that state where you get to decide what you get to create next. My background is I am a 2-time cancer journeyer. Before that, I was in high-tech corporate for a number of years. I was in various bands musically throughout the city where I now reside, and I was having a blast. I was having a great time in life. I was a single mom, yes, at the time, but my kiddo and I were just enjoying life and enjoying things as they came to us. So adventures and opportunities and exciting little trips here and there. It just was a very fun time in our lives. And then when cancer hit in 2012, it completely threw myself, but also my child, into a state of crisis. Especially for my child, who was 10 years old at the time. Very, very intelligent, but also a lot of uncertainty came in and a lot of fear. And those stories started to get wrapped into what I call the crisis code. Various crisis codes that are created based on the survival state that we're in. So when we want to talk about moving out of this victim state or this victim mentality, it's not always an easy thing. It's not just let's sweep it under the carpet or let's just push it away or push it down. My generation, Gen X, we've been taught and conditioned that we could suck it up. We should just forget about it. We should put a Band-Aid on it, walk it off, all of those things that we got told as kids that we needed to do just to get past things. Now, I would say that as a Gen Xer, I have learned a lot of coping mechanisms, maybe not all of them healthy. And I think a lot of Gen Xers would agree with me on that. We're recognizing now that there were a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms that we learned over time. But some of them helped us to get through some very traumatic and very difficult times in our lives. So I would say I think that there's a lot that we could take from the generation, but I also think that there's a lot that we can reframe as well. So I talk about a 3-part framework in my Treehouse Principle book and in my program, Reveal, Release, Redefine. So when I talk about the reveal piece, that is where we literally have that opportunity to get curious with ourselves. And when we're in that victim state, we've been laid off perhaps maybe by a job as well that we've been in for a number of years. It's easy to take it personally. It's easy to think, what did I do wrong? What should I have done differently? Or what could I have done differently? But that's the thing. This is where we have the opportunity to get curious, as I said, and instead of playing into the victim mindset, we get to play into the creative mindset. So that's where we have the opportunity to reframe things or redefine things. But first, it starts with the reveal phase. So the reveal phase has all the things to do that are actually opposite of what we were taught as kids in our generation. It's all about acknowledging what you are going through, what is coming up for you, what situations have come around in that have put you in a state of crisis. And to be able to reveal those things to yourselves and then to others. So setting boundaries and that sort of thing, moving through whatever it is that you're going through, but being very clear, setting your boundaries as you are going through that healing phase. So that reveal piece is very important. We cannot move forward from fear. We stay stuck in what I call the crisis loop. So if we are continuously stating victim mindset narratives, that is where we get stuck. And then we begin to ruminate. We sit there, we ruminate, we think about what was said, what happened to us, the situations surrounding that, and we stay stuck in that story. So this is where I'm saying you have the opportunity to reveal these narratives to yourself and then release them. So the release piece comes next. But again, there's no timeline for that. I get asked all the time, how long is this going to take? How do I know when I'm healed? I can't answer that for you. Only you can answer that for yourself because every journey is different. I don't ever like to compare journeys, although it does happen. I'm human. We're all human. We do tend to look out the window and see somebody on the other side of the fence that's a little bit greener grass. But just remember, maybe that day their lawnmower broke, or perhaps the cow got out of the field. Their journey is very different from your journey, and we do not see the layers of situations that can happen to others. We only understand what's happening to ourselves. But that's why, again, I'll say the opportunity to release those narratives, release what you have revealed to yourself, and then the fun part comes, the redefine piece, which is a beautiful piece. That is the co-creative piece where you have the opportunity to co-create with the universe, life, source energy, God, whatever you want to call it. But basically this higher intelligence form that has the capability of helping you tap back into your intuition, into your intelligence, into your wisdom, and all of the imaginative states of play that you have available to you, the powerful co-creative capacity. So that is exactly what I wanted to talk to you about again today, is how we look up, talking about not getting that apology, and you feel very wronged. You feel that it is owed to you. I get it. I've been there. I've been there a number of times. I've been through the corporate layoffs. I've been in the victim mentality with going through cancer twice. And why did this happen to me? I was reasonably healthy, I thought, and there was no history in my family whatsoever. So why did this happen? Life was going great. Why? Why did it take this opportunity, or why did I have to go through this situation? Because really, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, we're all just trying to figure out how to walk through this life. And some of us are fumbling. Some of us are succeeding, and that's wonderful. But we are still fumbling along the way because we are human, and we are prone to human situations and circumstances. And that's where we have the opportunity to look at it differently, the reframe or the redefine piece. So when we look at these narratives, we are able to actually acknowledge them for what they are. And it's a story that keeps us, yes, playing safe, but also maybe keeping us stuck. And then we're no longer able to move forward. And I know we all want to move forward. I know we are all on this same path and on this same journey to find healing and rest and peace and all of those wonderful things that are waiting to come into our lives. You've seen it. If you are on this channel, you've likely seen other channels with similar messages. The only difference from my side is that I have gone through these particular crisis pieces and have been able to talk about it from the other side. I am now in the creative state, or the redefined state, if you will. But it took me a long time to get there. It actually took me several years. And I'm saying these things so that you do not make the same mistakes as I did. I didn't understand about any of this mindset piece or spirituality or neuroscience before I went through these things. I did a lot of research. I took courses. I took a lot of training to understand the fundamentals of what happens to our brains when we go through crisis. And so getting into that victim state can happen simply because we're just trying to protect ourselves. And we're trying to make sense of it. We're trying to reason why this situation happened. And we want to blame. We want to place blame on something other than ourselves. And I'm not saying that you are to blame, certainly not, especially when it comes to situations that simply are out of your control. That's not the case. What you need to recognize is that you are responsible first and foremost for your thoughts. Your thoughts create your things. They create your reality. They create the power behind your imaginative state. So when we start to visualize for ourselves a new life and a new reality, we truly have way more power than we give ourselves credit for. But again, as I will say, we cannot create from crisis. So we need to first crack those crisis codes and figure out what's keeping us stuck. So getting out of the victim mentality mode and being able to acknowledge that these things did happen, but perhaps there's a reason for that. Perhaps there's something deeper that we can look into in the journey. And truly, I'm going to tell you right now, when I was in the thick of cancer, especially the second journey where it came back, and I literally wrestled with the demons of the dark, where I thought to myself, this is not fair. I am so done with this. This doesn't make any sense. Cancer took a lot from me. It took a lot from my family. It took a lot from my relationship with my kiddo. And you know what? I decided that was it. Enough. I was going to go toe to toe with that beast and tell it to sit down. Enough is enough. I'm no longer going to play victim to your circumstance or your approach to me. I know this isn't my fault. I don't know what happened within my body, but I know this isn't my fault. That's the most important thing that you can start telling yourself. Those stories. This is not my fault. So again, same thing. You get laid off from your job, or in our case, we had to move twice in a year because we got pushed out of our places of rental. So we were renting and we were looking to buy, and we had to move because the landlords needed to sell the house. And then again, we needed to move a year later because the landlords wanted to move back into their house. So now what we had witnessed and what we experienced was very, very, it was very much a warranted victim state, if you will, in my opinion, because there was a lot of people that came up to say, I can't believe that happened to you guys. Unbelievable. That is so frustrating. Why did that have to happen? Blah, blah, blah. So it's easy to go into that. Yes, I know. I'm really frustrated. Why did that happen? And blah, blah, blah. And this person shouldn't have done this. And they shouldn't have said this. And this shouldn't have happened. But really, you get to choose what comes next. And you get to choose your thoughts, which create your things, which create a better reality for you. As soon as we understand that nobody's going to apologize, that's where the opportunity to completely reframe begins to evolve. Get curious. Get curious about the thoughts that you're having. Get curious about the mindset. Get curious about what you want to create next. Get curious, because curiosity leads to creation. Curiosity leads to play and imagination and wonder. Criticism and victimization does not. Those are the things that can keep us stuck in that crisis loop and can keep us from obtaining our goals in the type of reality that we want for our future. It's so important and it's so crucial that you keep reminding yourself that you are a stunning creative being and you belong in that path. You belong on that plane, that physical plane that you desire. that's beyond the crisis, that is in creative mode. But it definitely starts with changing the victim mindset first and foremost. Removing those obstacles that keep you stuck. Removing those thoughts that keep you in that crisis loop. And observing your thoughts. So I talk a lot about the observer effect as well, in terms of observing our thoughts and how we can change or alter our thoughts as we observe them, as they come in. We literally have the opportunity to say, okay, that thought does not serve me today, or that thought is kind of critical of myself. It's judgmental of myself. It's judgmental of my situation. What do I want to think differently or think next? How do I want to create? What do I want to create? What do I get to create? So then it becomes more fun, right? Listen to the questions that you ask yourself. What are the narratives that you're telling yourself and the questions that you're asking yourself? Are they creative or are they critical? This moves you out of the victim mindset and into the creator mode, or the activation of the creative phase, as I like to call it. Literally, you have this power within you, but it starts with that narrative. It starts with that acknowledgement. It starts with the reveal phase. Sometimes we don't even know that we're stuck in that. Sometimes we stay stuck for years, like I said I did. And every situation that would come up, I would observe as a threat. Because again, our nervous system, if it's in a state of survival and crisis, will continue to scan for threats. So you have to teach it how to calm itself, and how to create what comes next, and how to allow more opportunities to come in. But that starts with the reveal phase and then the release. So the release, again, these particular phases could take time, because it's all about removing old identities and old narratives and old stories that come up and try to keep you stuck, a state of not moving forward, because simply that's what we're designed to do. We're wired for safety first. I've talked a lot about that as well, and I've done a lot of that research in the neuroscience piece. Dr. Joe Dispenza will also talk about moving from the predictable future based off of the familiar past. So when we acknowledge that our past doesn't need to create our future, and that our present moment, every thought in the present moment, is what creates our future, that's when we start to move from victim mode to creator mode. I'd love for you to comment below where you think you're staying stuck and what you think has resonated most with you in this video, and what you believe could help you to move beyond that critical mode and into that creative mode. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it. Make sure that you subscribe and like and comment. Let me know what you feel resonated most with you, and we'll see you in the next one.